Production funding for UConn Women's Basketball, A Season to Remember 2000, was provided by Phoenix, proud sponsor of UConn Athletics and CPTV. Phoenix, specializing in wealth management. Big Y World-Class Markets, proudly serving the community with 45 locations throughout Massachusetts and Connecticut. SBM, the biggest little bank in Connecticut, a local institution for nearly 100 years. The Savings Bank of Manchester continues to be an independent, full-service community bank. United Technologies Corporation, Connecticut's largest private employer. UTC has operations or products in all but 3 countries in the world.
Nice pass, Shea Ralph, inside, technical on Oriema. Oh, he's gone!
Oh my, what a great play by Bird.
See things in my teammates that I hadn't seen before.
Connecticut wins the East Regional. The Huskies will go to the Final Four. They eliminate LSU. This is the national championship between the Lady Vols of Tennessee and the Connecticut Huskies. Schumacher having the game of her life.
They are stopping them cold.
I just want to thank you guys for the most memorable 4 years of my life.
And Connecticut has done it. They have won the national championship here in Philadelphia.
Michelle, it's hard for me to put into words, with my family and everybody. It's just really special. It really is.
It was a season to remember. 36-1, wire to wire, #1 in the nation. Awarded with a national championship in the end.
They all shoot. They got great hands. They're active on the defensive end. I've been very impressed with the entire team effort by UConn tonight.
What made this team special was that there was no one player that stood out amongst the rest of the team.
If Sue Bird had been just average this year, then we wouldn't be national champions. If Kenitra Johnson had not been good enough and Sue felt the pressure of having to be great every night because she didn't have a backup, then we wouldn't have won it. If Shea and Svet have fought over who's going to get all the attention, who's going to be first-team All-American, instead of worrying about winning a national championship, we wouldn't have won it.
This is Gino Oriema, reporting live from Paris, France.
The Huskies started the 1999-2000 season with a whirlwind 5-game tour of Europe. Stops in France, Belgium, and Italy not only gave the players a chance to take in the sights, but some national competition as well.
We went over there, we lost the first 2 games, and then it was like, oh my God. And it's like, see, I've been trying to tell you, this isn't working. We need to do it a little differently.
We had a lot of unanswered questions on how we were going to play, how were we going to get this group together, and what offense and what defense we were going to use throughout the course of the year. So Europe gave us a chance, a jump start on answering those questions.
He didn't know who was going to play point guard, really. He didn't know who was going to play center, really. And everybody was predicting them to be a top 5 team. There aren't many top 5 teams in the history of basketball who have been unsettled at point guard and center.
Good afternoon, which is what it is here in Belgium. Joe D'Ambrosio, glad to be rejoined by CPTV's Megan Pattison for Game 2 of the Euro Huskies trip.
The coaches tried out a new offense and searched for a point guard and center to emerge. So Sue Bird tested her injured knee and the basketball knowledge she gained on the sidelines last year. And Kelly Schumacher tested out some newfound confidence.
I think Europe was like a very important part of this whole season for me. It really got me into the swing of things, and I came out strong, starting off with the Europe trip. And I think right then it showed, what I could do this season for me personally. We defined our goals. We, sat together as a team and defined what we wanted to do with this team and how we wanted to end this year and what we were capable of doing.
For the next 3 games, the team overcame strange rules and refs, jet lag, and homesickness to defeat their more experienced opponents.
As that trip evolved, as they spent more time together, as you saw them having more fun and being more comfortable with each other, you just saw them gelling on the court, and then you would see them off the court having a lot of fun, and then the next game they'd come back and beat a really good team. And I think the clincher was one day everyone had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, leave Rome, fly to Venice, do some sightseeing, and then eat this huge, enormous 18-course meal, and then go and play a game at like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm broadcasting the game on the radio, and I'm thinking, I'm ready to fall asleep. I don't know how these kids are doing this. And they played an exceptional basketball game.
Benvenuti a Venezia. Buongiorno.
Off the court, the players had a chance to visit the Louvre in Paris, take in the beauty of Venice, and even got a preseason blessing from the Pope at the Vatican in Rome.
I think that may have been the point where, if you had to attribute what has happened to us over the past 9 months, anything to, that it would be that. That trip was the turning point for us.
When you take this many really, really good players, high-level players who have tremendous drive and tremendous aspirations to be great, they're not very trustful of other people. Kids like that only trust themselves. They don't necessarily have confidence and trust in others. That has to come. And I thought this is what this trip really helped them do. Believe in each other. Look at each other differently than before.
And a very pleasant good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bob Picozzi along with Megan Pattison, and welcome to another season of UConn basketball here on CPTV. This the first of 20 games we'll have for you this season.
In their season opener against Iowa, UConn's defense proved to be as much of a threat as their offense. The Huskies forced the Hawkeyes to miss their first 20 shots.
I was surprised by how well we played defensively. I was surprised by the intensity level that we brought in the half-court defense because we hardly ever pressed them.
And I believe a technical foul has been assessed to Gino Auriemma. So he did step over the line.
Yeah. Just 3 nights later at the Civic Center against Kentucky, the Huskies had an early wake-up call. With 5 minutes left in the first half and UConn leading by only 1, Gino was irate over a foul call. His temper led to 2 technical fouls and his ejection from the game.
As we seesaw back and forth, the technical on Auriemma. Oh, he is gone. Wow.
My first thought was, oh my God, CD is probably really mad at him right now. That's what I thought about.
I'm going to kill him was my first thought. The first one he got, I thought he deserved, and I sat down because he was fairly calm, and that's why when he got the second one, I was totally taken back, because normally I'm right standing next to him if he's a little agitated.
I remember Shay calling us in, I think Fat Sue, I forgot who else was in the game. And we really thought he did it on purpose. Like we said, you think Coach did it on purpose just to test us?
The only thoughts you have are you're embarrassed because you acted like a fool. You tell your players you need to keep your composure during the game, and here they're watching their coach lose his composure. So it wasn't something that I was really proud of. It wasn't one of my finer moments. And as I'm leaving the court, I felt more like I let a lot of people down, and I felt really embarrassed for what I had portrayed myself to be like.
To make matters worse, Kentucky countered everything UConn threw at them.
CD's going nuts, lipstick's gone, makeup's running everywhere, she was spitting, everything. I mean, she's like a dragon. She was just going nuts, sweating, and everybody sees CD, she's all cute, and she's the one, back up Gino, or stop Gino, or, calling fouls. She was crazy.
Bird hits the front end.
With only 2 minutes to play, the game was tied at 57. Sue Bird sunk 2 free throws, putting UConn ahead 59-57.
Abrosimova, 3.
That sparked a 9-point run against Kentucky to close out the game 68-62.
As Connecticut withstands a big challenge
And to be able to be in a close game and to win was a feeling that I didn't know, and that to be able to feel that, and it was early in the season, but I knew that it was different. And I could see things in my teammates that I hadn't seen before.
I have never seen our locker room that way before. I think this particular group, and I don't think it was really warranted, but they felt in past games when they were punched, they didn't react the way they wanted to react. And so in this time, and I remember Shay saying this in the press conference, she said, we got punched and we finally punched back. And it was an entire group effort, and top to bottom, every kid celebrated in that locker room like we won a national championship. That was really, I think, a turning point for this group.
Over the next 17 games, UConn dominated nationally ranked opponents. They beat Penn State by 13, UCLA by 42, and number 3 ranked Louisiana Tech by nearly 30 points.
That was big for us. You don't shut those guys down. No one does. And to beat them by 30 plus points, that was almost unreal.
You got a sense early that they were very good and that they were more talented than most of the teams in the nation. The La Tech game was the first one where you got a real glimpse of how much more talented.
We played UCLA right before Christmas, and it had been after a week of exams, and I thought if there's an opportunity for us to really stumble and play lousy, this is it right here. And instead we played great against UCLA. So now I'm thinking if we could spend 10 days taking exams and then play that well. Now they went home for Christmas and they come back and we got Louisiana Tech. Then I'm thinking, you know what? I think they've got a pretty good handle on how to prepare for these games.
In fact, sophomore forward Swin Cash felt so bad for UCLA, she gave them a little help on the boards.
Swin Cash just shot the ball into the wrong basket.
Look at Coach Oriema and Chris Daly's reaction.
He's smiling.
He is. That's what makes it more fun.
She was at the free throw line. I'm like, I'm boxing her out. I'm boxing her out. And the next thing I know, I'm boxing her out, but I get the rebound. I'm going back up. And as the ball released from my hand, I'm like, what are you doing?
It wasn't like a fluke, like turn around, threw it over my head by accident. It wasn't an accidental tip in. It was a perfect rebound up, perfect form, like I meant to do that. And then the look on her face, it was perfect.
I think the funniest thing was Shay's face after that. Everyone was laughing, and it was a really funny thing to do, for Swin to do. But Shay was so serious. She was so concentrating on playing defense. I was like, oh my God, Shay, just relax.
I think I was in shock, to be honest with you. I looked and I just felt embarrassment for Swin. I just knew that, right away I knew it was going to be all over SportsCenter.
Women's hoop, UConn. Second half, Janae Hubbard at the free throw line. UConn Swin Cash. Oh, 'tis a season for giving, but I think Cash gives until it hurts.
The poor kid, when she came off the court, she said, I'm not going to tell my mother. And I thought, I think this is like a SportsCenter moment. I don't think you're going to have to worry about telling your mother.
The winning wasn't always pretty. Prior to the Penn State game at the Honda Classic, the team realized they had a big problem on their hands.
We were in Florida, and we didn't have our uniforms. We wore sweaty practice uniforms and national TV.
If my mom was going to watch this game in Russia, and they would see the United States team play, and they're going to be really upset about that.
Quicker!
The season was not all fun and games. Behind the scenes, things were not as easy as they looked on the court.
The average fan doesn't know that the kids actually are on the court sometimes 2.5 hours. The average person doesn't know, how hard it is because they just see the finished product. They don't see what actually goes into it. The weightlifting, being in the weight room for an hour, running on the track, all the little things in a training room after games for an hour just so you can be ready for practice the next day.
We spent every minute of our time, on the court. Off the court, we were together doing game plan, watching film, meeting with our coaches, studying, and then practice, lifting. It was demanding. We gave up every weekend of our life, we gave up spending time with our family. We gave up so much,
I mean, before I got here, I didn't, you know, you think you're working hard and then you come here and it's a totally different level.
Hey, I want you to have the ball where you can see it.
That was the reason why Svetlana hit double figures in 27 games, and why Tamika got Big East Outstanding Player. And the fact that Sue Bird could sink the three at will was no coincidence.
From like 8 to 9, I would go in and I basically just did threes. I mean, I would do other pull-up stuff like off the dribble, but it started right in front of the basket, and they had me working on my follow-through and things like that, and just different kind of form things. And Coach and CD would help, and Tanya, and that was kind of like my individual, and I just shot threes the whole time.
What we tried to do this year, we didn't put the focus on winning the games. We put the focus on every day we need to get better at practice.
In practice, it's got to be harder, because now when you get into game, the crowd is there, the officials are there, the other team is there. You know, we had all these elements that weren't there in practice. So I've got to try to create in our practices all the things that might happen in a game. Bad calls. Okay, well, I'll make 15 bad calls in practice. Impossible situations. Well, I try to create as many of them in practice as I can.
Injuries and adjustments tested the team all year. In the season opener, sophomore star Tamika Williams felt a twinge in her foot. She was diagnosed with a stress fracture and underwent surgery.
I don't think it was the physical part that, you know, was going to be sore for the rest of the season, and it's still a sore, still healing. But I think the mental part is the thing that I didn't grasp right away. It took me probably 3 or 4 games to get around to, you know, I was, you know, pretty much in condition, and everything was going well, but I could never get it back, it seems like.
It took her a while after her foot injury to really come back and feel confident pushing off and using her explosiveness and her speed. Those are really 2 of her strengths.
Shea Ralph was hampered by constant pain in her knees and played with no ligament in her right ankle. Senior Paige Sowers' play was severely impacted by a foot injury that diminished her playing time.
It was tough. I'm not going to lie to you. It was very tough. But with this team and with the idea that we wanted to win it behind, you know, in the back of my mind, I couldn't, you know, be selfish. I couldn't give up and say, hey, I'm not a part of this anymore, because I knew I was.
The biggest talk of the season may have been that Svetlana was not seeing eye to eye with her coach.
The one thing about Svetlana you have to understand is she's very stubborn. She's very vain. She's very bright. She knows what she wants. She doesn't like being told what to do. She doesn't like being told that she's not as good as she thinks she is. But then when you tell her, Svet, you're the best player in the country, she says, no, I'm not.
Ralph kick out of Brosovova, and her first 3 of the afternoon.
She came here for a reason, to be a great player. I'm here for a reason. I want to make her a great player. Does she know how to be a great player? No. If she did, I wouldn't have to yell at her all the time.
I talked to him a lot about that. And my freshman year, he promised me he's not going to yell at me next year, which is sophomore year, and he lied. But the thing is, he yells at me, and I know why he yells at me, because he wants me to improve.
I know what she needs to do to be a great player. So, in the end, I also know she appreciates everything I do for her. If she didn't, I wouldn't yell at her.
It was also during this span of games that a team of heroes emerged. Sue Bird, who missed all but 8 games last season, was referred to as the best point guard in the nation by opposing coaches. Those compliments didn't come easy.
I said, Sue, this season, everything that goes wrong on this team, I don't care if somebody is sitting on the wrong chair on the bench, it's your fault. And you all right with that? She said, yeah.
Schumacher crashes the glass and puts it back.
Kelly Schumacher was gradually showing signs of the greatness Gino envisioned she could muster. During Penn State, she put up 11 points and 7 rebounds. But it was her defensive play of 13 blocks during the stretch of games in February that impressed the coaches most.
Kelly really gradually got better during the season, and it came to a point where, you know, she was getting better to the point where she deserved to start. And he recognized that, and he made the decision, and Paige was okay with that.
I knew, like, when, like, Paige had twisted her ankle or whatever, that I was the next person in line, and I was the one who was going to be in that starting position. And I was trying to make myself ready for it whenever the chance arose again.
Another player that showed signs of promise was the only freshman on the team, Kenitra Johnson. Against Pittsburgh, she shot a season-high 18 points. In the 4 NCAA tournament games, she shot 11 of 15 for 33 points.
And I think over the season, it gave me a lot of confidence knowing that they knew that I could do that, and they had the ability, the confidence to put me in a game in any situation, knowing that I was going to be okay.
It was junior Shea Ralph who emerged as a team leader, setting the bar of expectation for her teammates. A role reversal was what Coach Auriemma was asking of Shea.
This is not about you and how many points you score, how many rebounds you get. You know, this is not about that. This is about, do you have the ability to look one of the other guys in the eye and know exactly what you have to say or do to get them to play their best?
Finally, he pulled me into his office after the season last year and just said, you got to change. You know, something's got to give. And he was right. And it took a lot for me to do that, mentally and physically. I needed to get my teammates more involved, be more on the floor than just a scorer. I needed to be a leader.
Official at Thompson Bowling Arena. Number 1 at stake in women's college basketball.
The much anticipated game against Tennessee on January 8th in Knoxville was a benchmark of just how good UConn was. Every win prior to this didn't have the same impact.
We were very nervous. I remember saying to them before, I said, we are not leaving here without a win. We are not making a flight back without a win. This is my last game in this place. We're not leaving here without a win.
I remember sitting in the locker room and talking to Gino about, you know, I think that if we win this game, if we beat Tennessee at Tennessee, I think we're going to win a national championship.
The big thing was, are we going to be able to handle the physicalness of the game? Are we going to be able to keep them off the backboard? Are we going to out-rebound them? Will we be able to be on the attack all the time as opposed to taking a step back? You know, what are we going to do? You know, how do you want to approach this game? And there was kind of a quiet confidence on our team.
In the final moments of the game, Tennessee was sparked by the hometown crowd and answered everything UConn threw at them. Part of UConn's problem was that their offense was struggling. The only player coming up with shots was Sue Bird.
Oh my, what a great play by Bird.
It was a defining moment for the sophomore point guard, who was later described as the difference maker by Pat Summitt.
Bird again.
She just awed me with the way she played at Tennessee, 25 points. And I thought to myself, I want to do that. You know, I want to be that for them, if a stalwart. And I owe Sue Bird one.
Whenever you see her have to do as much as she did, that's an indication that the other guys are not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
With a career-high 25 points, Bird was instrumental in the 74-67 victory for her team.
Number 1 with a bullet. The UConn Huskies and head coach Gino Auriemma moved to 14-0.
Kids did a great job. Great job. You guys are terrific.
But we really came out of that game thinking, you know, we didn't play even our B-plus game. But like we did in Europe, in that last game we played, we found a way to win the game in the last 5 minutes. That meant more to me and to the team than anything else.
After beating Tennessee, Gino noticed an unwelcome change in his team.
We had spent the entire time from the first time we played them being lazy, living off of our You know, yeah, we're number 1 in the country. We beat Tennessee at Tennessee, acting like young players, like they are.
He was saying to us, you know, that things were the same, and I think we could tell that they weren't either, because we were kind of going up and down. Like, we had been really consistent in practice, and then we'd have a couple good ones, and then maybe a bad one, and then so it was kind of up and down.
I noticed that there wasn't the same pep in their step. There wasn't the same crispness. They weren't making the same sort of plays. They didn't have that domination and that hunger and that look in their eyes that, you know what, we're going to beat you no matter who you are.
The Huskies did rack up 7 more impressive wins, taking their record to 19-0. But the changes in their game were noticeable. The team's 84-77 win against Boston College on January 26th was one of the most troubling for Gino.
Honest to God, that game was probably the most nerve-wracking game that I've been in all year long. I don't think there was another game all year long where I would look my players in the eye and ask them questions and they had no idea. They had no idea. I mean, they were just completely out of it, you know. And yet at the offensive end, Svetlana, every time she touched it in the first half, scored. Then in the second half, they changed and went to a different defense, and Tamika took over.
The return of Tamika Williams' game was the turning point for the Huskies. Williams scored 16 of her 24 points in the second half. 7 days later, the fate of UConn's undefeated season dominated a rare non-conference rematch with the Lady Volunteers of Tennessee.
Going into that game the day before in practice, and I was just so frustrated with the way we have been practicing and the way we've been preparing ourselves that I probably did something that, looking back, I shouldn't have done. I got really, really mad at this team the day before and the day of the Tennessee game. And they knew that I was mad, and I was upset with them. So going into the game, I'm not sure we were all lovey-dovey, hunky-dory, we're all on the same page. That didn't exist that day.
The drama began when UConn fans tried to fluster Samika Randall. Unfortunately for UConn, the attention seemed to invigorate Randall.
Nonetheless, we played well in the first half. We were up by, I think, 13 or 14 points. And the second half just came and it all slid. It slid. They made big shots.
Then what I thought would happen, happened. We got a little bit carried away with ourselves, got a little bit ahead of ourselves, got away from our game plan a little bit, and let them back in the game. And then because we let them back in, we gave them confidence. They came out flying in the second half. And now we got a struggle on our hands.
You can still be the best team the next 20 minutes.
Ironically, UConn's biggest struggle was against none other than Samika Randall, with just 5 seconds left in the game. And Tennessee trailing 70-71, Randall broke through Sue Bird and Swin Cash to nail the jumper. With 4.4 seconds left and down by 1, UConn called a timeout.
Coming out of the timeout, the plan was to get the ball to Svet. Have her. She's probably the quickest guy with the ball that at the time that we had. Sue probably would have later became that person, but to give the ball to Svet and have her drive, as fast as she can to the basket and lay it up or get fouled.
She has the ability. Once she gets in the lane now, she's going to bank the ball right in from the middle of the foul line. She's going to cross the foul line, and she's the only one on the team that can do it. She's probably the only one in the country that can do this. She can go in there, full speed, pull up, and bank one in from in front of the basket. And that's what I envisioned happening.
And I got the pass, and it was a couple seconds left. And I saw in the corner of my eyes, Tamika was open on the left side. So I passed the ball to her. But, maybe it was a foul, maybe it wasn't. But she missed the shot.
The Tennessee Lady Vols have handed Gino Auriemma's team its first loss of the season.
My first thing when she was coming down, I said, I know Svet's going to shoot it. But she didn't. She passed it to me. And then I hit the bottom of the rim. I didn't even get it to the rim. And I just remember just standing there like, I didn't even think they didn't call a foul. I just thought, I don't believe I missed that shot that bad. After I thought about it for about a week, it stuck with me.
When she passed it, I think Tamika might have been a little bit surprised by it. Even if she was open, by the time she caught it and realized, oh, I got a second to score, it was too late.
It wasn't really her fault. Like a 1-point loss, it's a whole team thing. Just it shouldn't come down to a last shot anyway. We shouldn't let Tamika Randall make that shot. then she wouldn't have to be put in that situation.
I think everything happens for a reason, you know, and maybe that was good for us because it showed us that we can be beaten. And who knows, maybe if we had won that game coming into the final game, you know, we would have thought, oh, we've beaten Tennessee twice, and so we're all set. But I think that just gave us that extra edge, like Tennessee beat us at home, you know, and we came out like, we're the better team here and we're going to show you.
Nobody on our team likes to lose, and I think that loss ate everybody up on our team, and everybody just dug down inside. And I think we realized how good we can be, and you know, and that was only us that was going to stand in our way from where we wanted to be.
After that loss, you know, they didn't talk about it at all. They just kind of said, "Okay, we lost, and let's move on." They didn't talk about it at all. But you know, so that was the overt reaction. But you could very clearly see that they were sharper. You know, immediately after that game. Their practices were better. They were more determined.
UConn had gotten the regular season wake-up call they needed. Following that game, Coach Chris Daly used comments made by Penn State's coach, Renee Portland, to inspire UConn's post players.
Renee had said that if there was a small weakness that Connecticut had, it was their post play. And so I took that and I highlighted it and I blew it up, and I put one in each player's locker, each of the post players' locker, and I said, this is what people are saying about us. Is this the way you want people to talk about the post players at Connecticut?
Tamika, see where you guys shoot from? Up here. But I was saying that all year long. You're not aggressive enough. You don't take advantage of all the things that are out there. We don't punish people enough inside the lane. We miss too many layups. You know, we give up too many layups. We don't just take over the game physically.
It made me real angry, like someone actually views us that way. This is Connecticut with best team in the country, and someone's the post players are terrible. So we just took it personal, and I think the next time we played them, we wanted to show them how good we really were.
That's kind of like a knock on the entire team, not just our post players, because, I mean, even though they play the post, we're still a team, and we're a part of getting them the ball. So that's kind of saying that we didn't get them the ball in good situations for them to score. And so I took that personally, and I know the other girls on the team did. And
it wasn't big things, it was little things that we needed to fix. And so we fixed them, and we moved on. And we became better, and we came better. And we started playing our best basketball when we needed to play our best basketball.
I noticed that this team had a renewed focus and a different energy level, one that mirrored the energy they had at the beginning of the season in those dominations that they displayed early on.
UConn's worries were not over. There were two Big East opponents capable of ending the Huskies' dominance in the league. The first was the 10th-ranked Scarlet Knights of Rutgers, a team known for their relentless defense.
If you shoot bad against them, good luck. It's going to be a long night, and that's exactly what happened.
In the first half, Rutgers took the pace out of UConn's game and held the Huskies to a season low of 20 points before the half.
That game was just, we couldn't score anything. We kept missing shots, and it was horrible. We just felt so bad about, you know, each player was taking a couple of shots and missing them in a row, like 2 or 3 shots in a row. And, you know, you get frustrated if you miss a couple of shots in a row.
That game was just, you know, a slower pace than we were used to. Our pressing wasn't working as well. Our shooting from the outside wasn't so great. But, you know, we matched them defensively.
The emotions were so high, and the tensions run so high in that game that we fell into the same trap we did before. We got good shots this time around, but after we missed a couple, it was like, oh, here we go again, you know. But fortunately for us, it was another opportunity to say, okay, so we're not making shots, we'll win it with our defense. We'll figure out a way to win without shooting 55% from the floor.
Ralph comes out with it. They look to run. Abrasimova's got a wing look.
We started the second half with Kelly Schumacher, Kenitra, Svet, Shea, and Sue Bird, which was totally a different alignment for us, but it was one way that we were able to, I think Gino was sending a message to our other post players, and we were able to mix up things for Rutgers, and they had to make some adjustments based on our lineup.
The adjustments worked. UConn forced Rutgers into a scoreless final 2 minutes of the game. which sealed a close 49-45 win for the Huskies.
Final 3 seconds. Stewart tries to lean in. Nope. And Gino Ariema's club has survived at the rack.
We blocked 5 shots and made some great plays. Svetlana was huge again, inside. And we got a little bit from everybody. And that game, more than anything, I think, set the tone for the season, for the Big East season. We thought maybe this would be the year we could get Connecticut. But winning at Rutgers kind of proved, no, you're not.
UConn's next big test came on February 26th, the final home game before the Big East tournament. Notre Dame, ranked 5th in the nation, was also undefeated in the Big East. A win would give the victor the regular season conference championship.
It's the battle of the undefeated for the Big East regular season title.
Standing in UConn's way was the Big East Defensive Player of the Year, center Ruth Riley. The plan was to shut Riley down and keep her from scoring her average 16 points per game.
We trapped her every time she got a ball into a post. She couldn't do anything. She was just, kept turning the ball over, and she got some quick fouls because she was frustrated because she couldn't do anything on offense.
The defense that we played on Ruth Riley was more of a team effort. We were able to do some things, play off some other players, and give Kelly some help, and Paige and everyone that defended Ruth Riley. There was always someone else running at her, so she didn't know where the help was coming from.
UConn's plan worked. The Irish scored only 9 in the first 15 minutes of the game. Riley received 2 quick fouls and spent much of the first half on the bench.
She was getting real frustrated. I'd turn her one way and they'd come down, and they'd be there perfect timing. Perfect, it was really great. And I think it was really getting into her head. She was getting frustrated. She couldn't turn either way.
I think she took the Ruth Riley challenge as a challenge as well. Ruth Riley, the best center, arguably in our league, and I think she took that personally. And before the game, we wanted to tell her, force Ruth, to the middle where you will have help. And I think it was several possessions where she didn't even need help. I mean, she blocked a couple of Ruth Riley shots, and we was like, wow, Kelly can do this by herself. So I think that really gave her confidence.
In the second half, UConn was only up by 6 when Sue Bird went on a run, scoring 9 of her 14 points in the game's final 3 minutes. UConn kept Ruth Riley to only 4 points, 5 rebounds, winning the game and the title.
For the 7th consecutive season, the UConn Huskies have won or shared the Big East regular season title.
You're not going to be able to stop a really good player with just one player. So if we just put Kelly on there and say, all right, you against Ruth Riley, that's not going to happen. But Shea learned when to double and when not to. Svetlana learned when should I cheat, when should I not. Sue Bird learned, what do I do when my man doesn't have the ball, and still be able to recover because she's a good shooter.
The regular season was over, and the careers of seniors Stacy Hansmeyer and Paige Sauer were coming to an end. Their dedication to the UConn program was celebrated 8 days earlier, before the start of the Syracuse game. It was senior night, and as in past years, it was an emotional experience saying goodbye.
It was the worst weather out there that you can imagine. I thought we would have 5 fans that senior night, and we had 6,000 signs that just make your heart beat, just make you say, hey, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've hit home to these people. I have touched these people's lives in more ways than one.
The things they've done for our team, the average person can't see, but we definitely know it, and we definitely appreciate it, and they're definitely going to be missed.
I just said, when I'm a senior, I want to be just like that. I want to just lead by example and just work hard every day. Even though I'm not on the court, we respected them a lot. Even though they weren't starting or playing a lot, we respected them a lot because of what they went through for this program.
Everything that they wanted out of a college experience, they've gotten. And I feel like I had a hand in that a little bit. And I know the rest of the team does too. And I think that's what's so special. We want them to leave here feeling good about what they've done.
The highlight of the evening was the singing of the national anthem by Stacey Hansmeier. Her teammates worked on getting her to sing it all year.
It came down to it. I decided, I was like, you know, this is something like I really want to do for my teammates.
For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The year before, 2 years before, she wouldn't have been able to do it. She didn't have the self-confidence and didn't feel like she would be able to pull it off. And now for her to go and do that and have the team respond to her the way they did, I think it kind of infused her with a sense of I belong here, I belong on this team, I'm an integral part of this team, and whether I score or don't score, these people feel a certain way about me, and nothing's going to change that.
One thing that surprised me so much is that so many of the fans were so supportive of Paige and I, and the times we were struggling, like they would do something great, you know, just to make it all better. And, you know, whether it was the whole senior night thing or, you know, make a big deal about me singing the national anthem. I mean, they're just incredible.
On Campus Pavilion on the campus of the University of Connecticut at Storrs, the 18th Big East Women's Basketball Championship. Today, the St. John Red Storm take on the Connecticut Huskies.
The final moments of Stacey and Paige's UConn career were upon them. In their last Big East championship, they looked to help UConn obtain its 7th straight title. And with the home court advantage, it looked like they might get it. Against St. John's, UConn dominated, beating the Red Storm by 44.
87-41 your final. UConn has now won 72 ball games here at Gamble and at the Hartford Civic Center in Big East play.
Tamika Williams scored a team-high 14 points, shooting a remarkable 90% from the floor.
It seemed like every time she touched the ball this weekend, she scored. And every time she got in the game, things happened, and she was just everywhere.
The semifinal was a rematch with Boston College. UConn opened with a 20-4 run. Williams contributed 8 of those points. BC closed the gap, but in the second half, it was all UConn. Svetlana Abrosimova walked away with 10 assists, but again, it was Williams who stole the show, shooting this time 83% for a total of 16 points.
UConn advances to the Big East Tournament Championship game.
I think today I just worked hard in the lane, and the other players got me the ball.
The Big East final matchup against Rutgers would prove to be much more climatic. The Scarlet Knights, who had been beaten twice by UConn in very close games this season, were out for revenge.
I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my God, the third time. Like, we'd beaten them twice in 2 close, tough games, and now we got to play them again. So I think everyone was jacked up. Not only was it against Rutgers, but it was for the Big East title and kind of bragging rights.
Rutgers held UConn to their lowest score of the year. There was a 10-minute stretch in the first half where the Huskies didn't score. The half ended with UConn up by 6.
Hard-fought first half by Vivian Stringer's club and Gino Auriemma's team, with Connecticut leading at the half, 28-22.
Coming out of the locker room, UConn went on an early run and shot 85% from the floor.
And a big three-pointer there by Sue Bird.
Tamika Williams scored 10 points, giving her a tournament total of 40 points over 3 nights, and was named tournament MVP.
Tonight, 10 points on 12 free throw opportunities. First of all, I didn't think I would get MVP. I thought maybe probably all tournament team, but somebody else get MVP. Then when they said Swin, I think, and Svet, and then I was like, oh, I know I had to get something. And they said MVP.
Tamika has as much God-given natural ability as anybody, ever. And I think she just decided for those 3 days to put it to use, to be aggressive, to be what she is. And the results were MVP.
It was just something that was unbelievable. I mean, I just wanted to just grab her and hug her because I know that she worked so hard and so many tears and, you know, coming into the gym and doing rehab and things like that. And I mean, if you know what somebody goes through behind the scenes, it's just so great when the public gets to view, you know, what they get in reward for it.
You know, probably for about a 2-week period before the Big East tournament, I was really hard on her. And then when, you know, I kept saying, and your mom's coming, and I'm going to talk to your mom about this, and we, you know, and as a result, you know, she plays great, 3 days in a row, terrific, from, again, showing the variety of moves and everything that she can do, and she ends up being the tournament MVP.
Up, good. That is good.
CD was on me every game, every practice. She said, "You're gonna be my worst nightmare." And even throughout the whole end of the season, we would have like if the rest of the team was working out, Tamika had her own individual with CD.
The rewards for a season of hard knocks and outstanding accomplishments were finally beginning to pay off.
All along, we knew how special it was, and we know that championships are hard to get, and to win 7 in a row is, in its own, just an amazing feat.
Winning 2 national championships is outstanding. I mean, obviously there's nothing better than that. But when you could say you've won 7 Big East Conference championships, that's saying something very special. The great thing about our women's basketball program is consistency. We've done it over and over and over. There's some teams that will pop in and pop out. We have been there every year, and that to me is the most important. That to me is the benchmark of what our basketball program is all about, consistency.
All right, let's get to the East. The number 1 seed is Connecticut. They'll open up against Hampton. UConn, the 6th number 1 seed in the last 7 years.
You see, that's a very powerful team that could be a real factor.
And a very powerful bracket because you saw 3 conference tournament champions in that bracket. So it's not going to be easy for Connecticut to return to the Final Four.
Tennessee coach Pat Summitt criticized UConn's draw, claiming the Huskies had the easiest road to the Final Four in the tournament.
Why say that we have an easy bracket? That's an insult to all the other teams in our bracket. We had 10 teams in our tournament, in our bracket, that won championships.
We had, you know, Duke in our bracket. They won the ACC tournament. We had Oklahoma. They were one of the regular season champs in the Big 12. We had LSU, who, you know, plays in a very difficult league, as they would, you know, tell you quite easily. So, you know, we had teams in our bracket that were very good, and I don't think that when you get to the NCAA tournament, anybody's a cakewalk.
UConn's first-round opponent didn't prove Pat Summitt wrong. The Huskies easily handed the Lady Pirates of Hampton a lopsided victory, stealing the ball 14 times in the first half.
Dixon has her pocket picked, throws Samova to the trailing KJ, and it's good.
The game was not without its share of excitement. Late in the first half, Hampton guard LaShonda Dixon decided to give Shea Ralph a message.
You can hear the boos from the crowd. They didn't like it at all. Ralph hit hard in the mouth. Watch what happens here. Dixon comes up to her and just hits her in the mouth. She punches her.
What people didn't see was Shea, you know, forearming that kid all the way up the floor when the kid was trying to take the ball from him. And finally the kid just said, "I've had enough of this," and punches Shea. So probably good of Shea not to punch her back. Shea already got her shots in before the kid hit Shea.
But right at that instant, I thought, I can't do this to my team. But you know how bad I wanted to punch her back. I wanted to punch her back really bad.
One of the most sentimental moments of the tournament came 2 nights later, when Gina Auriemma made a heartfelt decision to start seniors Paige Sauer and Stacey Hansmeyer in the Clemson game, their last in Gamble Pavilion.
I had no idea until I walked into the locker room and he put that on there. And the first thing that crossed my mind was, this is why I came to UConn. This is why he is so special. This is why he is so successful. And this is why we're more than just a team, that we're more than just Connecticut women's basketball, that we're unique, that it's the NCAA tournament, the game's on the line, this could be our last game, and he wants to thank his seniors for 4 years.
I walked in actually, and I saw my name on the board, and I was just like, what a guy. Like, he really understands, like, he really understands how much this means to me, and like how important it is to, you know, to go out with a bang and like just to have, like, to finish my career at Gamble and have my name on the board as starting. Just like it really proves just how great like everybody is in this program and how great Coach is.
Well, that's an NCAA tournament game. I mean, if something goes wrong there, he could look really foolish. But he felt like he owed it to them.
You're starting two kids that are pretty good players in a second-round NCAA game against a team I think we're going to beat. What's the worst that can happen? I saw no downside whatsoever to that. The only thing I saw was two kids that I thought epitomized what our program is all about, getting a chance to go out there one final time to see what it feels like so that they can take that home with them.
Clemson again proved Pat Summitt's earlier claim was right. Sue, Swin, and Shea all scored in double figures. The only scare of the night was when Swin Cash and Sue Bird collided on the defensive end. Swin Cash laid motionless for several minutes. Injuries had forced UConn off the road to the Final Four in '97 and '98, but it was not their fate in 2000. UConn beat Clemson by 38.
I think the girls are just terrific. I wouldn't mind having any of them for my own daughter.
We're following the girls from Campbell to Richmond, Virginia, and then on to Philadelphia.
Fans from all over the country gathered in Richmond, Virginia. A quiet, focused confidence came over the team as the excitement of the tournament began to heighten. UConn's only focus was the Oklahoma Sooners.
Before the game, we watch a highlight tape on the bus, and I always put it in and I dedicate it. It's kind of a little tradition we had going this year. And, you know, what I said was, you know, let's not make this another Iowa State. You know, let's prove that, you know, last year wasn't what we were all about, and it was just kind of, you know, it was just unfortunate what happened, but that we're a much better team now. And so I think we took that onto the court.
We knew that Oklahoma wanted to run up and down and try to make it a 100-point game. So the obvious thing would be to do slow them down. Instead, we went, well, we're not going to play a slow-down game. That would be playing against what we believe in. So we're going to go out and we're going to force the issue. And we did. And the game went exactly like I thought it would go.
Oklahoma took an early lead, but the Huskies went on an 18-0 run, scoring 67 points in the first half. Auriemma was concerned the team would let their offensive success overshadow the need for more defense. In the second half, Coach Auriemma called 3 timeouts. Focus was his message.
They were down against Purdue, like 17 and 20 points, and they came back and won the game. So for whole game we played against them, we were up by 15, 20 points, and we knew they can come back. So we have to be really careful with them.
The timeouts were just meant to remind people of what it is that we need to be doing. Forget the scoreboard. I know what the scoreboard says. Here's what we need to do.
UConn beat Oklahoma by 22. 11 of the Huskies' 12 players scored. Tamika Williams and Asia Jones each scored 16 points. Abrosimova finished with 15. One UConn player was having a tough time with the victory. Stacy Hansmeyer helped knock her friend and former high school coach Sherry Cole out of the tournament.
For so many years, I've been so proud of her because she just kept improving her program and kept fighting after it, and just to be there and be so proud of her for accomplishing so much, and then have to, do what we did to them. I mean, it really just broke my heart.
And it was hard for Stacey to be part of the team that knocked her off, and that sent her home. But it was awesome for Stacey to be part of the team that was moving on.
I'm proud of her for how she's handled everything, for the attitude that she's shown, and for the important role that she plays for this team. And if I can't win a national championship this year, I want her to.
UConn had dominated 3 NCAA opponents with confidence and a business-as-usual attitude. LSU would not be the fourth.
I had nightmares about that game before they happened because everybody kept talking about, oh, did you see them against Duke? Oh, God, they look lousy, didn't they? You guys are going to beat them by 30. And I'm saying to myself, how does a team get to the Final Eight and you think we're going to beat them by 30? I don't feel good about this because I can't get a handle on these guys. I don't have a handle on what makes them good. And I'm worried.
The players also had their reservations. No one on this team had ever gotten past an Elite Eight game.
I was really nervous going into the LSU game because it's going to the Final Four, and I was really, really nervous.
I think for Stacy and I and Shay, we had it in the back of our mind that we haven't won that game yet. And that was in our mind the whole game.
We are underway for the right to go to the Final Four.
LSU stunned the Huskies in the first half, shooting an unprecedented 73% from the floor, 4 of 6 from the three-point line.
They weren't missing any shots. They didn't miss. The first half, how do you shoot 80% from the three-point line? I mean, who does that? It was not us. We didn't do that one time this year. But for the first half, they did that. And I remember going into halftime and feeling, like we were just sitting there going, what are we doing wrong? I mean, defense has been our strength. And somehow they're shooting, 73% from the floor on us. Like, this is crazy.
One of the things that Coach said at halftime was, whose shoes would you rather be in? Ours when we're winning, or theirs when they're losing and they shot 80%. There's not much more you can do when you shoot 80% from the field. And so I think that kind of gave us some confidence going into the second half.
In the second half, the Tigers bridged UConn's gap by only 2 points. But LSU couldn't keep up their offensive pace. Svetlana took over, widening UConn's lead by 9. Then, with just 39 seconds left in the game, it was Abrosimova who wowed the crowd one last time.
And Abrosimova buries the 3.
We had shoot around before the game, and coach was like, why don't you take a shot from, not from exactly like the three-point line, but you can take it far because, you can make those, and it's going to help us in offense because we have a chance to rebound the ball, and it's going to spread zone defense. So when I got that shot, I was like, that's for you, coach.
I knew when she shot that shot, it was going in, and I was ready to jump out there and just hug her right there because we knew that was a turning point when she hit that shot.
The first 2 years, sometimes she would try to do things at the wrong time and wasn't ready to do those. But certainly in the LSU game, she came up big in every way.
That's it. Connecticut wins the East Regional. The Huskies will go to the Final Four. They eliminate LSU. Tonight's Nike Player of the Game from UConn, Svetlana Abrosimova.
I've never cut a net before that, and it was the first experience, and I really loved it. And I think it's like my biggest thing right now. It's my hobby, cutting nets.
Why are you going to Philly?
We're really good. My dream's coming true is what it came down to. I was just so thrilled and so excited and just being like, gosh, we can't stop here. We are 2 games away from winning it all. And I was so excited to be to be part of the to be part of the Final Four. We thought it was the coolest thing because we got on our bus and there was a police escort. We had a police escort to our hotel and we're like, we're not in a hurry to go anywhere. What's the big deal?
That shows how normal we are, that we're just a bunch of kids going out to accomplish a dream. And on the way, we think little things like that is just the coolest thing.
I didn't really know how to feel like we going to the Final Four. I mean, I can only imagine. I seen it on TV. I seen other teams go through it, watched it, and I just thought one day I'd be there. I never thought my freshman year I'd be going to the Final Four.
Outside influences that define the Final Four kept the players from thinking about the games too much. Family and friends began to arrive. Press conferences were more frequent than practices.
We got into our room and there was messages from all types of family members and, everybody wants tickets and it's just crazy. You have banquets, you have interviews, media, practice. It was insane. We were just totally busy the whole week.
I spent no time worrying about the games. Being at home and being around people and all the things that I had planned. The only time I worried about the games was to get ready for practice, and then that was it. And I wanted them to be the same way. I want you to think about what we're going to do for an hour and a half every day when we get together for practice. That's it. The rest of the time, I don't even want you to think about the game.
Come game time, UConn knew it was Tennessee they would face if they got past the Nittany Lions. The talk in Philly was Penn State didn't stand a chance.
Penn State's not an easy team to play against. They're very, very good at running their offense. They're very precise, very disciplined. And I thought that our energy level was going to have to be really, really high to take them out of that.
Coach said to us, he's like, just, treat it like it's another game. And, we didn't get really worked up, like, oh, this is, and, we all knew it, but it was the case where, we were just calm, and we're like, we're going to go out and play another game.
We are set to go for the right to go to a national championship game.
In the first 5 minutes of the game, Penn State kept up their end of the bargain, tying the game twice. But it didn't take long for UConn to put an end to that.
Sue Bird, 2 in a row from downtown.
The Huskies went on a 10-2 run, extending their lead by 8. But Sue Bird dominated the outside shot.
And a three-pointer again by Sue Bird.
At the half, UConn stretched their lead to 9. Shooting almost 60%.
Number 1 UConn leading at 37-28.
If UConn continues to push tempo and get on the boards like they're getting on the boards, then I think Penn State's going to have an uphill battle.
Penn State coach Renee Portland's comments earlier in the season only sparked UConn's resolve in the second half.
We had something to prove, and I don't think that there was any question that our post play was a strength in the Final Four, both against Penn State and Tennessee.
I can always point to certain things, and I can say, look, they've got Helen Darling, we've got Sue Bird. They think they have 2 pretty good players, Andrea Garner and Maureen Walseth. But after it's all said and done, Asia, Tamika, Swin, they have nobody like you guys. They have nobody that can come off the bench and do as much as you guys can do. So invariably in big games, you 3 are going to be the wild cards.
Asia Jones, Tamika Williams, and Swin Cash combined for a total of 35 points and 13 rebounds. Early in the second half, Penn State cut UConn's lead to only 4.
I remember specifically Lisa Shepard had just hit a 3, and to put them up by, us only up by like 5 or something like that. And I remember we came back down, it was like right away, we were running splits, and I went to the corner and they didn't follow me. And I was like, I remember thinking to myself, like, you have to hit this. And then I just followed through.
Sue Bird, who had 3 threes in the first half, hits another one.
Bird had a team-high 19 points. UConn finally wore Penn State out, winning 89-67.
Connecticut wins its 35th game of the season, 35-1, with 1 to play in the 2000 season.
UConn now had a long 45 hours to spare before the championship game tip-off.
I don't think any of the players really got that much sleep that night. I think we were all kind of tossing and turning in our beds, waiting for that game to come around.
We're number 1! We're number 1!
We're going to take Tennessee and we're going to grind them into the dirt.
I got a letter from Chris Daly, and she sent me a picture of me cheering at Rutgers, and she says, you're the greatest, you're the best, keep doing what you're doing. So, Chris Daly, thanks to you, I got the green light, and we're UConn. Go UConn!
I'm thinking, I know our players are going to be nervous because it's a championship game. But they faced Tennessee twice, so they know what to expect. If they get beyond all the hoopla that's surrounding the game and just go out and play the game like they're any other opponent, then we won't have a problem.
I was nervous a little bit, but we were just really confident. We knew we were going to win the game.
I was a wreck, and I didn't want any of the girls to know that. So I was trying to keep my distance in my room and stuff, and meanwhile, I'm just going crazy inside.
What better ambassadors could the University of Connecticut have than these girls?
When we compete, everyone's excited.
This is the hardest ticket in town, the hardest ticket I've ever seen.
In the locker room before the game, Gino brought in his championship ring from 1995.
I used the analogy that, there it is. It's in the middle of the floor. And there's a championship at stake. And what I'm here to tell you is that the first one in there that gets their hands on it and holds on to it is the one that's going to have it when it's all said and done. So our whole focus going in was, right from the opening tap, we're going to be the ones throwing the first punch.
We decided that we were going to defend certain players, double certain players like Tamika Catchings, limit her touches, and we were going to double Michelle Snow in the post off of other certain players. So we were willing to give Kyra Elsie a three-point look if that meant making Michelle Snow pass the ball out.
This is not your grandmother's basketball. We're looking at college basketball at its finest. Philadelphia is a champion. Between two teams, somebody's going to wind up being a champion.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the First Union Center for tonight's championship game.
I remember from the final game, just sitting there and just being like a little nervous, adrenaline flowing, and they say, when they say this is a national championship game.
Between the Tennessee Lady Vols.
Their fans cheer, and I hear them, and I'm going, yeah, yeah. And then they say UConn Huskies.
And the Connecticut Huskies.
And our fans just blew their fans away, and I was going, this is a great feeling, like we're going to win this game, and it just put a big smile on my face, I remember.
Transferring from Santa Clara, where we had 700 people a game, to, here where there's 10,000 people, screaming fans at every game. I mean, it's just awesome.
Before the game even got underway, fate had turned its back on Tennessee.
Tennessee got some really bad news this morning near the end of their shoot-around. Their starting guard, Kristen Ace Clement from Philadelphia, injured her ankle.
With or without Clement, UConn's players had a look that was different than their opponent.
The thing that caught my eye was when we came to the stadium, the night of the game, our kids were all business. And when they walked out on the floor, they were very focused. And there was no question. I looked at them. You could see Shea Ralph's eyes, or you could see Svetlana's, how she conducted herself.
We were in the zone. I mean, we were clicking, and it was all basketball. It was all business. We only knew our world consisted of that floor. That was it. That was the only thing that was going on right then.
Gino especially noticed his center Kelly Schumacher's glare.
She had a strange look on her face, one that I had not seen. Shuey's kind of a nervous type at times. She, I think, gets a little bit worried about things. But for some particular reason, and I saw it in the Rutgers game when she was playing against them at their place, there was a strangely confident look in her eye, like, I got this all under control.
And I don't know how I did it, but I was just like, I'm going into this game confident. I'm going to play my game. I'm going to play good defense. I'm not going to be timid. I'm not going to be this. I'm going to be, strong.
I was like, shoot, I need you to play well because I'm nervous. She was like, I'm going to play well. She told me that she was going to play well. So she told me it. I had confidence in her.
1 against 2 for the first time since '89, and we are underway. The tap controlled by the Tennessee Lady Vols. They will move right
Tennessee won the opening tip, but it was all downhill from there. UConn's post player shut down Samika Randall, took Tamika Catchings by surprise, and thanks to Kelly Schumacher, totally frustrated Michelle Snow. The Lady Vols missed 18 of their first 20 attempts at the boards. At the half, UConn led by 13.
I just remember going in at halftime and just being like we're playing great right now. Like, there's no way they're going to beat us. But then I'd go, but it's Tennessee. You know, how do you beat them by this much and not have some type of retaliation at some point? You know, and so, you know, I almost expected them to make a huge run at us.
And we were like, guys, we can't relax anymore. We know what happened in the last game. We learned our lessons, so let's just, you know, keep playing good offense, keep playing good defense, and we're going to win this game.
At halftime, I was more worried about losing that point spread than being so surprised that we're there.
In the second half, UConn's lead just kept growing. Tennessee had no response.
It was almost surreal for us. We were just, you know, we were playing well and the chemistry was flowing.
Now swatted away again. Schumacher with 2 blocks.
She decided to have the block party. Mom and Dad aren't home. I'm just going to have a block party.
During the game, I think I was just totally, I don't know what was going on. I wasn't thinking about much except for winning.
No one could get a shot off that game. Everywhere you look, there's Kelly jumping up, you know, and rejecting the ball. I mean, it was just, wow.
Time after time, especially in the second half, UConn beat Tennessee on backdoor plays. They punished Tennessee for the overplay.
We worked on those backdoor cuts every practice. And sometimes I would get upset about that. I used to talk to assistant coaches. Why would we work on that? We never do it in the game.
They are stopping them cold.
I think it was a shock for us. I remember Stacy and I on the bench, and we were just like, is this going to continue, or are they going to, you know, make a run on us? And they never, you know, as time passed, we were like, goodness, we're now up 25, you know, up 20. This is amazing.
With time running out, it was apparent Tennessee didn't stand a chance.
Another steal made by the full court pressure, and Abrosimova and company are running away with this national championship.
I looked at Jamel, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we are going to blow them out.
I actually had the ball in my hand, and Sue Bird came diving.
What began in a small gym in France in August ends in Gino Auriemma's hometown in Philadelphia with a national championship for the Connecticut women.
We just came out with a vengeance. We came out like we wanted something, and we got it, and I think we deserve it.
Michelle, it's hard for me to put into words, you know, with my family and everybody. It's just really special. It really is.
I don't think any of us had a dry eye. I mean, we were just so happy for them. And happy for the state of Connecticut. What a great team. They make us proud.
There's a magic to this team, and I'm just so excited. Not just because they're great athletes, they're great students, and they're great role models. I've got 2 daughters. These are role models for my daughters and every other daughter in Connecticut, maybe across the nation.
It's just, it still hasn't set in yet. I think it's just so overwhelming. Maybe tomorrow. I think the first time it hit me is seeing my mother crying up there.
They've did so much, and they've worked so hard from day one to get to this point, and I'm just so glad that they made it.
There's no word that will describe it. You know, when there was times that we needed to pull together, we did, and the chemistry was there, everything was there. You could feel it from the first day of practice when in that European tour. That's when it all started.
In the end, we have more good players than anybody else. We played with a purpose, we played hard, we played with passion. People took responsibility for what happened.
Kelly Schumacher broke an NCAA record with 9 blocks. Svetlana Abrosimova scored 14 points. Asia Jones, 12. Shea Ralph was named Final Four MVP after scoring a team-high 15 points.
I'm so honored that people, you know, chose me to give that to. But in the whole scheme of things, it's not really important to me. It's a national championship because that's not just mine. That's something that I helped give other people too.
That says all you need to know about our team. It says how much they care about each other, what good people they are, that they can be happy for other people, that they're able to accept the roles in order for the group to be successful. And I think that will always be my impression of this championship team.
What people saw on TV was us beating Tennessee to win a national championship. nobody's going to fully appreciate all the things that happened within those 6 months that made that final product look so good.
I just want to thank you guys for the most memorable 4 years of my life. It was just amazing. It was my dream that come true.
I'm telling you right now, in front of all these players, we are going to be back here next year with a third one. I promise you.
Production funding for UConn Women's Basketball, A Season to Remember 2000, was provided by Phoenix, proud sponsor of UConn Athletics and CBTV. Phoenix, specializing in wealth management. Big Y World-Class Markets, proudly serving the community with 45 locations throughout Massachusetts and Connecticut. SBM, the biggest little bank in Connecticut, a local institution for nearly 100 years. The Savings Bank of Manchester continues to be an independent full-service community bank. United Technologies Corporation, Connecticut's largest private employer. UTC has operations or products in all but 3 countries in the world.